This show is a type of ciencia, but it's the kind that doesn't really have much to do with regular humans. The story is primarily focused around people involved with immortal sex of various kinds, even when they do seem to interact with the human kingdom of that world. It's mostly to do with people who have studied cultivation and have developed a certain amount of immortal power. A lot to do with cultivation masters, and there are quote-unquote demons, but these demons they're suggested to be just another clan, another race that lives on this world, and they are misunderstood. It's more like the people who live in the main, country that the story is set in, saw the demon clan coming in kind of like an immigration and freaked out because the demon clan was different from themselves and fought against them. So it's more of a misunderstanding issue and more like a difference between races rather than an almost the demon clan is spiritually evil in some way. It's more of just they're different groups, but they could get along. It's just that there's prejudice causing issues. So hopefully that can give you a certain idea of the genre of story this is. A lot of the fights depend heavily on CGI, magic blasts pointed at each other, whose magical lights can outshine the other. A lot of fights like that. A lot of fights with blasts of power coming from within people, sucking other people's power, etc., etc. Not that much to do with martial arts or cool fights, but more of that, magic fight style. This is kind of a show about romance. The male and female leads. The male lead is Xiu Yuan, and the female lead is Fei. They have really good chemistry for parts of the story, but there's not actually that much development in their relationship after the first arc of the show. They're kind of assumed to be in love, I guess you could say, and they just are a team, and they just go with that, and they don't really develop it or show us why they love each other so much. They're apart a surprising amount, especially towards the end of the show. It's very unusual to me how they handle the romance, considering how the show begins. The editing in this show can be kind of choppy at times. I have heard this, I have not verified it, but I've heard that the editors of this show had to take out a lot of content before the show was released. I can understand why it's choppy editing in that case, because they had to go in and take out different scenes and cut scenes and all of that. However, I do question their choices, because there are parts of the story that you could easily have cut out to leave room for other parts of the story that were more interesting. Especially towards the end of the show, I was very questioning this narrative that they had removed so much, because I was like, why is there so much unnecessary fluff still in this show if they had to remove so much? So whether or not that is true, that they removed so much, the editing is kind of choppy at times. There will be scenes that transition in a very strange way. There's one notable fight scene where they were outside and all of a sudden they were inside, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? So that is something to keep in mind. All right, so let's talk more details about the arcs of this story. In arc 1, or at least what I'm calling arc 1, that's when the male lead and female lead meet, and it goes all the way until there's a kind of a big misunderstanding that blows up between them. So, at the beginning of the show, you meet the female lead, Fei. She doesn't yet have that name yet, she's called something else. And she is a tomboy. She's described as a tomboy. She's wearing I guess, more masculine clothing. And she's a bit of a scam artist. She has a lot of personality. She's very clever. It's very fun to watch her during the first arc of the show. And I was really into it. I was like, this is great. I love seeing a female lead with a lot of personality. Sometimes you don't really get that. You get a lot of trope female leads who are either cute or strong and silent in some way. But this female lead was shaping up to be very interesting, and I liked her. However, I was worried that once they dressed her in more typical feminine clothing, that she would lose those personality traits. And sadly, I did turn out to be correct about that. They do end up kind of stripping those personality traits away from her after she starts wearing traditional feminine clothing, and she loses a lot of what made her very unique in the first arc. But during the first arc, she is quite fun to follow. She was raised in kind of this, almost this enchanted forest land with her mysterious master. And her master goes missing at the beginning of the show. And so the female lead sets out on this quest to find him. She wants to find her master, and that's going to be a major plot point for a long time during the show. Meanwhile, she runs into Xiu Yuan, the male lead, and he is very interesting. I'll stop here and talk about Xiu Yuan. He is my favorite character on the entire show. If I was ever to rewatch this show for any reason, it would be for him, because I just love this character. He's so fun to me. He gives off the vibes of like a big lovable dog. And I don't mean that in a negative way. He's played by an actor who has a very imposing physical presence. He looks very tall, he's broad-shouldered, he's very athletic and strong looking in his fight scenes and so on. He brings a lot of power to them. So he has this very strong physicality on screen. But his personality is more like this grumpy, often grumpy guy who is not necessarily clever. He's not stupid, but he's also not he's not extremely sharp-witted like the female lead is. So anyway, at the beginning of the story, you get to know him, and you find out he has such an interesting backstory in the first arc, as much as you know of it. So his backstory in the first arc is that he became a body double for a prince of this kingdom. The kingdom got destroyed, and the prince of that kingdom escaped with his life. And Xiu Yuan, the male lead, who was like maybe 10 years old at the time, went on the run posing as that prince's identity. So he was pretending to be that prince of that kingdom who was on the run. And so all the enemies targeted him. And for years, he has continued to be on the run. He has continued to be pursued by the prince's enemies, who all believe that he is the real prince of that kingdom. So he has grown up not being allowed to ever have his own identity. And the only person who's been with him throughout those years has been this, I guess, guard character who he sees as an elder brother. They are very close, and that this guard character is the only person who Xiu Yuan has a relationship with in like the entire world. Because this poor guy has never been allowed to have his own identity. He has no dreams, no aspirations. He's never had the luxury of being his own person. And he has no ties to the world at all, except for this elder brother character who's been with him all this time. So the elder brother character is captured by someone, and that person, who is kind of an evil person of a sect, uses the elder brother's life as blackmail and tells Xiu Yuan he has to go get something from the female lead. if he doesn't get it and bring it back, then his elder brother will die. So Xiu Yuan goes after the female lead to go and get this thing from her. And he quickly discovers that the only way he can get it, due to plot reasons, is by killing the female lead. So there's this interesting time period in Arc 1 where Xiu Yuan, the male lead, is actually hanging around Li Fei because he wants to kill her and get something from her. So he has very bad motivations, but he's not a bad person himself at heart, but he's being blackmailed through the only person on this world that he cares about to do this. And he keeps trying, he keeps hanging around her. She's like, why are you here? Stop following me. She hates him. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of chemistry and a lot of funny stuff in the first arc. And he keeps trying and he keeps failing, and it's funny because he starts to develop a bond with her, and of course that gets in the way of his goal, where he's supposed to be stealing this thing from her, and if he takes it, she'll die. And he's stuck in this dilemma. He doesn't know what to do, and you feel so bad for him because he's giving off these, like, again, he's like a grumpy big dog who's following her around. He's just following her around and being grumpy and snapping at people, and it's just, there's so much humor. I very much appreciate it. I have not seen a male lead who gives off these types of vibes before, and I just got so much enjoyment out of it. So he, in following the female lead, ends up joining this immortal sect. So the female lead, again, Li Fei, she's trying to find her master who went missing. And through following the clues, she ends up joining this immortal sect. She thinks that that's what her master wanted her to do. Xiu Yuan is following her because he wants to get that thing. So he also joins the sect. All right, and then there's these other students who have joined the sect as well. So now all these people are at this new sect. They're classed together. They are developing relationships with one another, and we start having some adventures. There's a little bit of kind of this academy type vibe, like a school arc where they're like all students together, and we're gonna see them learn and we're gonna see them grow. However, it does feel a bit rushed to me in this arc because there is Li Fei, the female lead, Xiu Yuan, the male lead, and then there's this other guy who ends up being kind of the second male lead. His name is, I think, Tong Zhou, and the three of them are supposed to be really close. And I don't really think they are. I feel like they don't really earn that in this arc. They act like, wow, these guys are such close friends. But I keep questioning it. I'm like, are they? I'm not really feeling it. But the female lead suddenly, she even goes and gets this magical artifact. And it's a magical artifact that literally binds them to one another magically. It's called the Fragrance Bond. And they're supposed to be able to, like, feel when the other person gets hurt. They can always find each other or something. And I don't know. I never really felt like it was earned. I didn't know why she was so excited about doing this. And it's like, wow, this is a big step for you to take with people you don't know very well. But anyway, they're very enthusiastic about this. It does feel a bit naive of them. Anyway, there's another trio of characters that they get to know. It's a guy and two girls. I'll talk more about them later. I like those characters a lot, but they're more of side characters, but they're part of the friend group. In this arc, we start to get Xiu Yuan getting attracted to the female lead, and she's kind of reciprocating, but it feels a little bit more like friendship to me during this time. But Xiu Yuan is also starting to deal with some extra stuff. First of all, he's getting a lot of flashbacks to, like, a previous life, because, spoiler alert, he is actually secretly the demon lord from his previous life. Not really his previous life. He's not actually reincarnated. I'm not sure how to explain it. If you watch the show, you would understand. But he's having all these flashbacks to events that happened in the past. And in the past, he knew the female lead, Li Fei. And he's seeing her in his memories. And he's like, what is going on? He's so stressed out. He's like getting these flashback memories to kissing the female lead. And it's like freaking him out. He's like, whose memories are these? It's so funny. This poor stressed out puppy dog, this poor German shepherd of a man. I feel so bad for him. And he's also, the female lead is giving off this fragrance that is like a supernatural fragrance that only he can smell. And it's because the female lead also has a secret identity. She's secretly, from her past, she's the divine tree. Okay, so he is able to like experience the aroma of the divine tree, and he is so weirded out by it. It's so overwhelming to him that there's a point where he becomes really like dazed and out of it, and he ends up biting the female lead, like straight up biting her, and he snaps out of it, and he's like, oh my goodness, what is happening? It freaks him out so much that he avoids her for days because he's just like, what is going on? And then he like awkwardly asks other people, he's like, do you guys smell anything? And they're like, what? No. Oh, I laughed so hard. I had so much enjoyment with that. It felt very believable to me of how you would react if you were really in his situation. Anyway, all of that happens. We get all these relationships growing, these bonds forming. It's kind of a light, simple storyline going on here. And then Li Fei figures out what's going on with Xiu Yuan with the blackmail that he's under. And she's like, all right, we are the trio who are the closest friends with our fragrance bond. We're gonna come help you and get your elder brother free from this person who's keeping him prisoner. So she and the other two guys go off to supposedly rescue the elder brother. Now, it's my opinion that they were very naive in doing this because they are not very powerful, and this other guy who's keeping the elder brother a prisoner is, but she's very young, she's very naive, and they go off. Of course, the very powerful sect leader discovers them, grabs Xiu Yuan, takes him to go see his elder brother who's a prisoner, and then blackmails him even more by torturing his brother in front of him and says, if you want your brother to live, you go and get that thing from Li Fei. And poor Xiu Yuan, who is not especially clever, is just extremely stressed out. He cares so much about his brother. So, of course, he goes and he kind of attacks Li Fei to take that thing from her. And he's trying his hardest not to hurt her. He does a lot of different things to try and keep her out of harm. He tries to protect her during the scene. But he's in a really tough spot. And the upshot of the scene is that the villain who has been blackmailing him loses and is driven away. Li Fei and the second male lead, Tong Zhou, both decide that the male lead has betrayed them, and our poor male lead, Xiu Yuan, is left with his friends holding this great grudge against him. So that's kind of the first major arc. So now we start arc 2, and arc 2 is just what I'm generally calling the period of time where the male and female leads are not having a good time with each other. Because the female lead is holding this big grudge against the male lead for having betrayed her. Now, I have some opinions about this. I think it's very silly that the female lead has this big grudge against the male lead. Wasn't she his friend? Didn't she know him and his personality? She already knew he was being blackmailed. She knows the reason why he did all of those actions. She saw him trying to protect her even during that moment. She knows that he's not actually an evil person, or she should know that. But no, she does not offer him any grace or forgiveness. She doesn't even try to see things from his point of view. She just hates him. And she tells him to his face that she never wants to see him again. She wants him to leave. And, I feel so annoyed at her. I'm like, wow, you're so naive and harsh. But the male lead, Xiu Yuan, he can't just walk away. You gotta think about his character. And I do find this to be interesting. Remember, he has never been allowed to have his own identity. And so in his whole life, he hasn't really developed any relationships. He has no ties to the world. The only person he cared about was his elder brother. Now, in the previous arc, at the end, during that fight, his elder brother did end up dying. So he lost his only strong relationship. So what's left? Well, actually, the only thing that's left is his connection to the female lead, because during the previous arc, she and him did develop a pretty strong bond. So now she's his only tie to the world. Really and truly, he has no one else. So it's very understandable that he does not just walk away. He can't do that. If you think about who he is as a person, you understand, like, obviously, he can't just abandon her and leave. That would be ridiculous. So he hangs around, he follows her, and he does everything in his power to make up for his past actions, to protect her, to be there for her. And the female lead just continually refuses to show him any kindness. And this whole arc it rubs me the wrong way. It bugs me so much. This is from, I think, episode 10 to episode 18. It's a while that this goes on. And during this time, they graduate from the first immortal sect that they joined, and they get to go on to, it kind of feels like they're going off to college now after high school. They're going on to the higher education. So the female lead, Li Fei and Xiu Yuan, both join the same higher immortal sect. I'm going to call it the W sect because it does start with a W sound, but I'm not willing to go back and figure out what the name of it is. So they join the same sect. Meanwhile, the second male lead goes back to his kingdom because he's a prince. I didn't mention that before, but he's a prince of the human kingdom. And so the male and female lead are just together at this new sect, the W sect. And it's kind of a much more boring arc. It's boring because the female lead's only motivation is finding her master. And I don't care about that. While I'm watching the story, I just really don't care if she finds her master or not, because we never really got to know him. So it's hard to relate to her strong desire to find him. And she also just doesn't get very far with that quest. And she just keeps refusing to forgive Xiu Yuan. Meanwhile, Xiu Yuan is doing his best to make up for his mistakes and just be faithful to Li Fei. And it does get kind of funny. He could be considered a little bit of a stalker, except he's not really expecting anything from her, which I find to be refreshing in a male lead, is that he just wants to be there for her. He's not expecting her to reciprocate at all, which does take, for me, it takes the creepiness out. But he does hang around and he does turn himself invisible a lot. It's kind of his thing. He'll be invisible in the corner and he'll help the female lead out. And she's like, I know you're there. Stop hiding. And he'll like take off the invisibility and he'll just be there and he'll just stand there and look kind of sad. And she's like, I hate you, go away. And I'm like, oh, the poor male lead. And he'd just walk away with a hangdog expression. I feel so sorry for him. Again, big, sad German Shepherd vibes. Anyway, my main motivation to continue watching was because I wanted to find out when would the male lead discover his identity, because he's secretly the demon lord. And I'm like, all right, he's gonna get his memories back. He's gonna get the identity back. What's going to happen when he does? And I was worried that when he does get that identity back and his memories, that he will become a different person. Because sometimes in C-dramas, that's what happens when a character has like a different identity. They get their memories back, they get their power back, and then they basically, it's kind of like they get possessed and they just become a different, crazier person. And I was hoping they wouldn't do that with the male lead, so I was waiting to see what would happen with that. Anyway, there's different things that happen throughout this arc, but it is quite slow. They finally have a conversation where they forgive. Not they forgive. Li Fei finally forgives Xiu Yuan, and they actually kind of confess feelings to each other in episode 18. And I found that to be quite surprising, especially from the female lead. She was like, I do care about you more than anyone else. And I was like, what? Where did this come from? And this continues to show a pattern in the show of really not earning the payoffs. I just really don't think they put enough work in to develop this relationship. So they just kind of skip to the scene where it's like they're confessing their love. And I'm like, you are? I'm like, you're actually in love with each other? For real? Anyway, so that's kind of what I'm calling Arc 2. Alright, in Arc 3, they finally leave the Immortal Sect, so the story kind of leans away from all the training and learning they've been doing and lets them go to other places. So they visit a couple of other cities / sects, and they help the people there with different problems that are going on. Everybody's getting ready for what's called the Sea Calamity, which is coming. And Tong Zhou, the second male lead, he ends up having a big thing go down with his kingdom, and the male and female lead go there to help him out. They, Li Fei and Xiu Yuan, end up finding the missing master, who's been missing all this time. They finally find him just before he dies, actually. They reveal the true villain who kept her master a prisoner all along. And it ends up being a big showdown with him. The male lead gets all his memories, and he doesn't go crazy, which is great. I was like, good for them. They did not do that. He kind of gets all his memories back. He realizes that he's the demon lord, and then he's just kind of like, no. He's like, I won't deal with that right now. I am going to keep following Li Fei around. I choose my human identity. And I really liked that for him. I enjoyed that he didn't let his previous life change his behavior towards anyone. And it would only be sometimes that demon characters would show up and talk to him, and he'd be like, hey, no, go away. I did like that. And the female lead knew his identity as well. She knew it. And when he started to get a little bit too intense, or the power would like start to get to him, she'd be like, hey, don't go all demon lord on me. I thought that was funny. The male lead also figures out that the female lead, Li Fei, is this divine tree. And that's a problem, because if people know that she's the divine tree, everybody's going to want her special spiritual power. This does end up happening in this arc. Her identity gets revealed, everybody finds out she's the divine tree, there's a big fight over her, and all this stuff happens. So this arc is very plot driven. There's a lot more things happening, which helps it be more interesting. And there's not a lot to say about the characters. There's not a lot of development. It's mostly just things happening all the time with different situations, different villains, different problems arising. And then we come to Arc 4. Arc 4 is not good to me. I do not like it very much. This is where I start feeling like we have the typical C-drama problem with there being too many episodes. There's not really enough story for all of these episodes. So they end up covering the same things over and over again. There's a lot of side characters. The story just keeps going on and on and on past where you would think it would end. So in Arc 4, the female lead and second male lead have already revealed their identities, and now they already found the missing master, and it feels like that could have been an ending of the story, because those were the things we were concerned about the whole time throughout the show. But no, now at the end of the show, we're bringing in all these new plot lines that weren't really there before, and we're finding out all these other things. We find out that the male lead, Xiu Yuan, is cursed. He has this curse where every life he falls in love with the divine tree, but he gets like this urge to eat her and devour her or something. And you add that element in. Then you add the element that the sea calamity is going to end the world, and they all gotta fight it back. The male lead is like, oh, I have to lead my demon clan and save them and take them back home. It's just like all this other stuff is starting to come into the story, kind of last minute in a way. And then the male and female leads are separated for a lot of the time. The male lead kind of has this cycle where he's like trying to help the female lead, Li Fei, and then he'll get injured, or the demonic power will come upon him, or his demon subordinates will cause problems, and then he'll be separated from her for a long time. And then he'll come back to himself and he'll be like, oh no, I want to go help the female lead, and he goes and tries to help her, and then it happens again. And he and the female lead are just separated a lot of this arc. There's a lot of side character stuff going on with like the second male lead, Tong Zhao. There's other characters that come back in suddenly out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, I kind of forgot about you. Really? We're gonna have whole scenes just for you? And it seems odd that we're spending so much time on them. There's some deaths. There's a couple deaths in particular where I was like, ouch. And I felt it was more cruel than necessary to the story. And I was just like, oh my. And really, the main problem with this arc is that there's just not much agency for either the male or female leads. All their actions are being dictated by external events and other people doing things to them, taking them prisoner, affecting them with spells, or pushing them into making different decisions. The male and female leads, the female lead once again misunderstands the male lead and is like, leave. If we meet again, we'll be enemies. And it's like, oh, we're doing this again. And it's just, it's messy. There's a lot of messy stuff here. There's a lot of repeated things. This is where I really felt like they could have cut a lot and it wouldn't have hurt the story. And then we build up to the moment where the sea calamity happens, and all of a sudden, all these different characters that have been trying to kill each other and have been pitted against each other are like, oh no, in this moment we unite to stop the end of the world. And they do, and they unite with their blasts of power and support each other with their magic to prevent the end of the world. And they do, they succeed in preventing the end of the world. And it's like, all right, we've learned unity. And I was like, no, you haven't. You were fighting each other and being enemies all the way up until this moment. There is no guarantee that as soon as the immediate disaster disappears, that you will go on into the future having learned a lesson. I did not believe in it at all. I was like, excuse me, this is not the story you told. So, felt very messy to me. Finally, we've got what I'm kind of calling Arc 5, which feels like an epilogue. It's the last 2 episodes of the show. And these 2 episodes felt very strange to me. It did feel like an epilogue. It felt like we ended the main story. The male and female lead, Li Fei and Xiu Yuan, went off together. They got married off screen. They lived on an island, I think, for 10 years together. Meanwhile, the second male lead, Tong Zhao, became a bad guy, a villain. And so, because of plot reasons, the male and female lead had to come back after their 10 years together to come back and face the villain, who is the second male lead now, and fight him, and that whole situation has to get resolved. And after they do that, all right, now the world is good again, and everyone has learned to get along, which still feels unearned. But at least 10 years have passed, so maybe during the 10 years, they did learn how to get along and be a united people. The demon kind and the humankind, all together. But we didn't really see that happening on screen. Anyway, very odd that these 2 episodes happened in this way. Again, the second male lead suddenly becoming a villain and being the main threat to be defeated. It just really felt like we cycled through a number of different villains. And each time, it felt like the show could have ended there, but they still wanted to extend the story. So they went on longer with a new thing as the villain or problem that needed to be fixed. And it feels like they kind of did that 3 different times. Very strange. Anyway, finally we end with, yes, a happy ending, but strange, a strange happy ending. Overall, I would say Arc 1 had the greatest enjoyability. It had the most development between the male and female leads, and the most chemistry. If I were ever to rewatch this show, I would probably only rewatch Arc 1 for those scenes. There was a lot of things I liked, a lot of funny things. I laughed a lot in the first arc. Past that, things just mostly were frustrating or just not super well written. I think the story could have ended in Arc 3. It could have been rewritten slightly, and they could have just ended it with Arc 3. It would be a lot shorter, but again, I feel like a lot of Chinese dramas just go on for too long, and they don't have enough story to fill the runtime. Some other comments with the show, some notable side characters that I liked. The Shifu at the W sect, Li Fei's Shifu, her master, was amazing. I had seen this actor before in a lot of different C-dramas. He often plays an older master character, but man, in this show, I finally got to see him actually do some serious acting. Like, he teared up in some scenes, and I was very impressed with his acting range. I was very drawn into the character. I loved him. He was great. And there were other masters as well that I really felt they were kind of the heroes of the whole story. I was like, yes, these old men are the best. They're so good. They care so much about their disciples. They risked it all. They sacrificed. I loved these characters. They were great. And there was the trio that I mentioned before, who were kind of part of the friend group with Li Fei, Xiu Yuan, and Tong Zhao. This trio had an interesting kind of love triangle going on where there was one guy and 2 girls. And both girls loved the guy. But the girls were also very close. I think they were either sisters or cousins. And even though one of the girls loved the guy, she didn't want to move forward with him because she knew that the other girl also liked him. And the other girl realized that she was causing a rift between the other 2, who were in love with each other, by the way. Like, the guy loved the first girl back. And so the other girl realized that she was kind of a third wheel who was causing problems. And so she chose, even though she still loved the guy, to leave and get herself out of that situation so that the other 2 could be happy. And I don't know, I found that very moving. I thought it was a very excellently done side plot. And then that other girl, having left to kind of strike out on her own, she ends up meeting this Birdman. He's this guy who has like bird heritage. And they were really cute together, and I liked it. I liked their funny bond. I like how she accidentally got engaged to him because she didn't understand the Bird Clan ways. It was fun. I liked them. And the Birdman and her ended up kind of closing out the show as being like the next new powerful pair. And I was like, yeah, they earned that. I like that for them. One other comment was that there was kind of a creepy through line in this show of two different men trying to steal the female lead's energy, her internal energy. So Li Fei had Tong Zhou trying to steal her energy, and also another guy who was her martial elder brother. And both of these kind of came across as creeps. Like, the way they were coming onto her, they were trying to use romantic interest as an excuse to like get close to her and steal her life force. It felt a lot like SA, like assault in a way. And I was just, I don't know, something about it really creeped me out. And I was surprised they kept going back to that, because it wasn't just one time. She kept being threatened by these men. And it was kind of disturbing. I just felt like I should point it out. The Eternal Fragrance. A bit of a disappointment overall. The show did not maintain consistent quality with the writing and the characterization, especially with the male lead and the female lead not having a lot of agency. After Arc 1, you didn't really get to see them. You never really got to see them fall in love. There wasn't a lot of development with that. In the end, I hope that this analysis/review can kind of help you set expectations for the show. And if your expectations are kind of in this space, then maybe you can enjoy it for what it is, now that you know. But if you go into it having different expectations for the quality and for what directions the story will go in, you might end up being a bit disappointed.